Good evening, everyone. Gonna wait for a few more people to get on here. Gonna share the link in a few spots. So hold on if you're watching right now, and I will get that out here shortly and get started talking about some hockey tonight. How's everyone doing? Just kind of let me know you're here when you show up. Just kind of throw your name out in chat. How's it going? Who's your favorite team tonight? Who are you looking at? I will just send this off here and we'll get started here shortly with some picks that I'm looking at. We'll look at the sheet. I got left wing lock up. We're going to look at some line combinations for GPP if you're doing that as well. And then I'm going to look at some DFSR, how I'm going to use the tool here, and see if anyone has any questions. Any DFSR members have any questions, or anyone at all. Just looking at how to use the optimizer tool, how I go about using it. I rarely just play the optimizer lineups, just straight Opti 1 or Opti 2 if you're familiar with it. So I generally lock a few players of my own or X a few players, create my own player pools, I guess you could say. I'm just going to finish sharing this here. See if we can get a few people in. And over to DFSR. Looking at tools as well. So how's everyone's Friday? Let me know how things are going. And I'm going to just wait for a few more people if you're here. Like I said, just shout out. Let me know who you're looking at tonight, who you're concentrating on, stacks you're playing, and we'll get started here shortly. So I have a few that I'm going to share with you. It's a nice little, what do we got here? 5 games tonight, 5-game slate, and 4 of those games are 5.5 totals. 1 6.5 that Ottawa Edmonton game. So that's definitely one place I'm going to be looking at for sure. Game slate. Just throwing this out on Twitter, and we'll get started. Go and share that over here. All right, I got that shared in a few places. I'm going to share my screen here soon, and what we'll do is we'll have a look at, first of all, just some goalies. We have a later slate tonight. It's 8 o'clock Eastern, so it's an hour later. Lots of time to build lineups. We've been hit with some news here just recently. If anyone's just kind of coming on, we have Marc-Andre Fleury was cleared of COVID protocols. Logan Thompson or Oscar Dansk was going to get the go tonight in net, but I think Fleury's probably going to get the call now. I mean, they cleared him. They're saying it was more of a let's see if we're back here. If you can still see this, if you still hear me, just post in the chat. If I'm clicking in and out, just let me know, and I will rectify that here shortly. I think we're back going here. So yeah, anyways, Fleury was cleared of protocols. It was either going to be Oscar Dansk or Logan Thompson tonight. I'm guessing with him being cleared just this afternoon, about an hour ago, I think is when that news broke, maybe even a little bit less. I think it's going to be Fleury who is going to be in the net tonight. So look out for that. That is the first game on the slate here. Just checking. Yeah, 8 o'clock Eastern. First game on the slate. So that's good in terms of that. We're going to get that news early. If he's in, I think he's a go. On DraftKings, I think you can make a case. I'm just going to shortly just flip over to my screen here. See, we got a few more people on. That's awesome. How's everyone doing? Post me your favorite teams below. Say hi, whatever. Just kind of get that algorithm going on YouTube. Helps out a lot. Going to try and do this show specifically for NHL on Fridays. Just kind of looking at some stuff for the day. I want to answer some questions. If you guys want to talk strategy, throw that in the chat as well. If you want, if there's some things in the sheet you want to know about what I'm targeting for cash games, what I'm looking at for GPPs in terms of stats, in terms of tabs on the sheet, that sort of stuff. Just hit me up in the chat. Let me know what you guys want me to show you, whether it be DFSR tools, line combinations, whatever you want me to talk about. Just hit me up here and we'll get rolling. So I'm just going to share my screen and we're going to have a look first of all at the goalies for tonight. Like I talked about, Mike Smith, I think he's number one in my rankings. If you're new to the sheet, I now have it's a small little model so I can weigh things like shots against per 60, save percentage, put weights on that. As you can see up over here, I've got that. I can't quite see it all here. But you can change those around if you want. If you just, all you got to do is go and make a copy of the sheet. We're going up to file, create a copy and name it whatever you want there. And then that's going to give you edit access, which will allow you to go and either, if you want to sort columns, if you're sorted in that way, if you're making your own model, that model also is the same when you're looking at the all skaters. You can't see it here in the video, but it's kind of the same thing over to the far right over here, where you can rank things like team implied goals, time on ice, power play time on ice, shots per 60, shot attempts per 60. Any of these stats here are all ranked over in the model, and then it spits out an overall ranking. That's not necessarily my favorite plays, but it's definitely going to steer me in the right direction when I'm looking at things, especially when I start scrolling down and look at some of the value plays. It definitely gives me a good clue into who's going to be a good value on the slate for sure. So we'll go back to goalies here. Looking at Mike Smith, he is a minus 240 favorite going up against Ottawa here. I think that makes a lot of sense. Where looks like I need to resort this here. We need to get Fleury in there. I got Logan Thompson here as a GPP play. I kind of liked him as a GPP, just kind of on FanDuel 6,500. But with Fleury going back in there now, I'm just going to put him as probable here. These are just some of how I go about an audit during the day. So you see things change around in the sheet. This is pretty much what I'm doing. These goalie confirmations are manual, so we don't want to erase him. I do like Fleury if he's starting. Like I said, for anyone just kind of jumping in here, we will know on the Fleury news before lock, because it is the first game, which is nice. It's usually the last game of the night, so it can be a little bit dicey with the Vegas situation. They're not announcing their goalie till like 10, 15 minutes before lock most nights. So having it the first game is nice, especially with this Fleury news out there. Like I said, I also like Mike Smith as a favorite against Ottawa. Only facing around 30 shots per game, which is nice. Ottawa takes some shots, up there. I think they're in the top half of the league. And then for GPP, one thing that I do like here is Ranta if he gets the start. I'm not sure if it's going to be Ranta or who was the other one? Aiden Hill tonight. But if it's Ranta, I like him in there. He looked really good last game after Kemper was announced on the injured list. Ranta got in there, made the start, made I think 42, 43 saves in that outing. Looked really good there. So I'm definitely like him for GPP on both sites in that mid to low 7K range. Definitely makes a lot of sense there as well. So just checking on a couple other news things here just to see. Oh, something came through here. Oh, no, nothing yet. Yeah, it was a false negative on Fleury's COVID test, so it's all good there. So I would expect him to start. I'd say like 90%. I think these sites, left wing lock and stuff, are going to be changing to Fleury here shortly. So 7,800 on DraftKings makes a lot of sense for Fleury. he's probably going to be popping here in both FanDuel and DraftKings on the DFSR side of things. So we will look at that here shortly as well. And then I'm going to look at some line combinations. So I'm going to go over to center here just in a second. One more thing I wanted to look at. Now let's just jump over to center. So the three teams, I talked about Edmonton. I think you got to have exposure to them. They're going to be very chalky tonight. It's the highest 6.5 total from Vegas here. All the other games, all four other games are 5.5 totals against Ottawa, who is dead last in defense. Edmonton currently ranks fourth. That's a differential of 27, so that's pretty big. Like back on the matchups tab here, if you're using the sheet during the day, I start here and I'm looking at, first of all, Vegas total. That one definitely jumps off the page. Edmonton's a huge favorite. Fourth best offense versus dead last defense. Home and road splits here. Then we've got scoring chances. That's another thing that stands out. Edmonton is 5th in scoring chances per 60. Ottawa is 28th in scoring chances allowed per 60. Really like that. And then high danger scoring chances. Edmonton is 2nd. So, I mean, there's a lot of upside there. High danger scoring chances. I get that data off of, give me a second here, grab that. That's Natural Stat Trick website. And what they're looking at for a high danger scoring chance is just kind of, it's the crease and then it's extended a little bit more, a little bit above the crease, and I think a little bit wider in there as well, just to kind of give you an idea of, if you're looking at it on the player level, if we go over here and look at all skaters, um, you know, high danger, these scoring chances over here, you really get a sense of the guys that are parked in front of the net. Like obviously Brady Tkachuk, 8.3 high danger scoring chances for per 60. So that's almost double what a lot of these other guys do. Makes a lot of sense. We see Tkachuk in front of the net quite a bit. He's a grinder out there. So that's the high danger side of the scoring chances, or just overall scoring chances. Those are kind of upside stats that I look at when I'm looking for GPPs. Generally, when I am targeting cash games, and I get asked this a lot, what I'm looking at on the sheet in terms of cash games statistics I'm looking at. First of all, I want a player that's on the top two lines. So when you look at column D here, underline, it's going to label each player in their line, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then beside it is I want the players, my core players at least, like, the players that you're paying up for got to be on the power play line. And that is the next column over here in E. So if you want to look at that there, I'll get rid of this here so it's a little bit easier to see. So that's where I start. So I start with the teams narrowed down. So we talked about Edmonton. We got Draisaitl and McDavid, both on line 1, power play 1. So they stand out there. They produced all season, but generally what I'm looking for from, the non-superstars, that, the non-names that the general fans aren't going to know, are going to be your shots per 60, and back that up with Corsi 4 per 60, which is just shot attempts. So think of these as shots per 60 and shot attempts. So shots are obviously the shots that hit the net, that the goalie saves, they go in. So your Corsi 4 or shot against per 60 are your shots that hit the net, shots that miss the net, shots that are blocked. So it really paints a picture of a total volume for a player and his shots. So that's, if I see a player that is high in shots, I want to make sure that he's got high Corsi too, and he's maybe not just, it's a small sample size type thing. We're quite a bit into the season here now, so we don't really have to worry about that, like almost at 30 games per player here. So we got a good sample, but anything over like 15 is above average. Your averages, and I haven't checked this year, is usually like 13 to 14 shot attempts per 60, and that is Corsi 4 per 60, the CF per 60. So anyone over like 18 is elite, and like superstar level is like 20 plus. That's where you see like your Max Pacioretty, Nathan McKinnon. Both of those guys are elite shot volume. Brady Kachuk's over 20. We come down here and get Timo Meyer. He shoots a lot. We get Kevin Fiala. He shoots a lot. Ricard Raquel, whatever, 19.3 Corsi 4 per 60. So that's a direction I look at. These two columns here, shots and shot attempts. That just kind of gives you a floor for that player. And if that player has, line 1 or 2, power play 1 or 2, high shots and shot attempts per 60, that's generally going to be something that you're going to look at as a good cash game play. You can back up that power play. This is just telling you if he's on power play line 1 or 2. We've also got a column here, power play time on ice per game. tells you how much a player has actually played on the power play this season. So you can check that out there. And then something else I look at from a cash game / floor perspective is this combined shots and blocks per game. Um, that's going to be your floor. If you can get, someone over 4 in that range, that's going to back up all those things that we just talked about from a floor / cash game perspective. I'm just going to minimize this and see if we have any questions. Hurdle at 3,900. Yeah, he's back tonight. I haven't updated that line yet, but Hurdle's definitely, 3,900 is pretty cheap. He's going to be up there in the top line. I'm just going to pull that up here. Let's go. Flip here for a second. The depth chart tab over here on the bottom has all the teams. The teams that are highlighted in green are the ones that I've audited today. Um, Lacking a little bit today. I've been busy doing a couple other things, but generally that's where you're going to check every day. But all teams in the NHL, I don't think there's a team that hasn't been audited within the last 3-4 days. So you can come here and check those lines. And I get that data from to look at. We're going to jump into centers here. Talked about Edmonton. So Connor McDavid definitely going to be number one going up against Ottawa. On a smaller 5-game slate like this, we're definitely going to see some ownership with him. So I'm definitely going to want him. And it feels like a night where we're going to want McKinnon and McDavid. That's where we're going to be paying up as center. I feel that's going to be the chalk build, at least when you want cash game builds. That's, I think, the way that we're going to want to go. We'll check that over on the DFSR optimizer here soon and kind of see the way things are shaping up. And then on those same teams, Edmonton and Colorado, who I both like tonight. Edmonton, obviously, a little bit more. LA is 12th in defense. But McKinnon, the reason I really like him, obviously, he doesn't have as good a matchup as McDavid, but what we get from him is he's a big favorite. They're projected for almost 4 goals, and he's the center of all of that. He averages almost 5 combined shots blocks per game. He backs that up with a 23.4 Corsi for, and that's shot attempts. And then the scoring chance is 13.9. That leads all centers. So there's a ton of upside there as well, even though it is against LA, but we get a very high floor with that shot volume. For GPP or even filling in your utility spots, I don't mind either. Kadri doesn't get the same shot volume, even though the Corsi is there. The shot volume hasn't been just recently, but so he's going to be more of a GPP play for me. And then Ryan Nugent Hopkins. If we go over and look at left wing. For me, and that's why I have McKinnon here, and then Kadri would be a pivot play in GPP. I think he's going to be a little bit lower owned. If in GPP, something I like doing, you don't always have to just pivot off of the top teams, which I think is going to be Edmonton and Colorado, to to be contrarian or to be different or try and win a GPP and not have every chalk play in there. You can still put those chalk plays in there, but pivot with your other stack, and you don't just have to pivot to another team or a line you don't like or a game that has a low total. You can just simply go to, instead of Colorado 1, which is McKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen, just go to line 2 with Kadri, or power play 2, stack power play 2 in there. Or if you want to get even riskier, go with line 3. Go and put a line 3 for that top team in, because that team could still score. We've seen it many times where the team still scores and covers the spread for their goals, 4 or 5 goals in a game, but the top line gets shut out, or one goal between them, where the third line absolutely go bonkers at low ownership. So keep that in mind for GPP. That's a good way to pivot, is stick with those top projected teams, but then pivot to the second or third lines. That's one way I like building, especially in 20 max. I'll take like one of my favorite stacks, let's say McDavid, Draisaitl, and Nuge, and I'll mix it with a cheap stack, and then I'll maybe build that Edmonton stack 5 times with 5 different stacks on there. So that's one thing I'm definitely looking at. Let's jump over. I want to look at the DFSR projections here quickly. I've done some audits. I've got a few more to go with this later slate here. I'm going to continue with that once I get done the show. And it's not loading very fast here. There we go. So it's just slow loading. So I'm going to go back to the cheat sheet here, and we will go into my third team I'm looking at tonight right now is going to be Anaheim. They are an underdog, but I do like the spot against San Jose. San Jose has struggled defensively, even though Anaheim's offense has struggled overall. They got a good matchup against San Jose's defense here, who is also bad on the road. They're just bad all around. So they're 24th in scoring chances against, 27th in high danger scoring chances against. Their penalty kill's been a little bit better. They're sitting in the middle of the league. Anaheim's isn't great, but I think they're going to be lower on. They're kind of a value team that I will go to. The top guy, obviously, is going to be on wing, Ricard Raquel. Still only 5,863 on FanDuel. It just seems a little cheap for what he provides, especially from a floor perspective. As you can see, he's got a 19.3 Corsi for shot attempts per 60, 11.2 scoring chances per 60. Backs it up with the shots, 3.5 shots blocks per game, 18.5 minutes ice time. 19 points. So the point production early in the season was down, but he's got 12 points in his last 10 games, 34 shots on goal. Definitely like that. He's averaging just over 14 DraftKings points per game. He's got a good matchup. He trended in the right direction. He gives you a high floor plus the upside in this matchup. So I like him a little bit more on DraftKings, but he's in play on both sites most definitely. All right, we've got the optimizer finally popped up here for me, so we'll have a quick look at that. Lower the chat here. So there's a couple things I want to go over here with the optimizer. So let's go to FanDuel where you're not actually required to lock anyone. You literally just go over to the FanDuel tool and click optimize. And you're going to get optimized lineups. Like I said, I'm not completely done the audit for tonight, so these aren't quite going to be the lineups that you're going to see at final lock here in about 2.5 hours. But generally, you're going to hit that. So you're going to choose how many lineups you're going to build, 1 to 50. Randomness, I've went over this before, but generally what you want to do with randomness, if you want a very tight core of players outside the players that you lock, you're going to have randomness at 0. If you want to have a very diverse set of 50 lineups where, say, you lock 4 players and you want the rest of the players to be very diverse and not have a high percentage of any of those players, you're going to go up to 100. Generally, for GPP, I'm going to be somewhere in that 20 to 50 range, unless I really, really like my core and the way DFSR projections and the lineups come out when I do a first run and see all the players that are showing up, over 50% of the time, 60% of the time. If I like that, I'll generally keep that randomness low. For cash games, I'm generally going off my sheet. And I talked about the players that I like here tonight. Generally on FanDuel, it's a lot easier to build lineups, so you're going to see a lot more stars and scrubs because it's a lot easier to fit like 3 star players. As you can see, we've got McDavid, McKinnon, and Draisaitl all in the top lineups here with Mike Smith at goalie. So it's not like in Fleury yet. I'd have to check and see. Possibly we have, if I go up to goalie here and sort. Oh no, Fleury's in there just a little bit lower on the projection. There might be something wrong with Mike Smith, maybe why he is the highest here. I'll have a quick look at that. Like I said, I haven't quite gone over all them yet, but if you want Fleury, I would definitely lock him in. Mike Smith is in a great spot again here. Anyway, he is confirmed. I'm just going to flip over here to the sheet quick. Look at the goalies. Yeah, Mike Smith is confirmed. So he's showing up. And like I said, on FanDuel, we're getting 3 superstars. If you wanted to get like Nugent Hopkins in there with your core, you're going to go and you're just going to lock them. Like this build's fine, and I don't mind this for cash, but when you start getting into GPPs, you want line combination stacks. So definitely go and find Nuge. He is a center. So what that's probably going to do, as you see, we locked that. It's either going to give us, take away Draisaitl, or it's going to take away McKinnon, is my guess here is what's going to happen once it populates. We'll go back over here quickly and we'll look at the power play. So what I'm probably going to do over on FanDuel for GPP, I like what's set up for cash there right now with the projections. What I'm probably going to do for GPP is come over here and lock at least these 3 and see what comes out. Chason might even pop out with that. Looks like it's doesn't like that lock. Sometimes if you lock and it locks up your screen, or it kind of goes dark like this and it's still calculating. Because I went 50 lineups, you start locking it like that. It's either a combination of it can't produce the lineups with the players that you've locked. It's out of the parameters. So just go ahead and reset and lock your players back in. or whatever. So we're going to look at a few more players here before I go ahead while that's resetting. We'll go back to the sheet and go over to the wingers now. I talked about Raquel. I think he's going to be core for sure. Landeskog, I like a little more than Rantanen. He's had a lot more shot volume here lately. He is cheaper on both sites as well, especially he's 1,400 cheaper on FanDuel, 1,300 on DraftKings. So I definitely like that. But Raquel is going to be my core, probably with Draisaitl and Cash. That's going to be the way I'm going to go for wingers. Yamamoto makes sense. I probably it's not showing here, but he is on Power Play 2, I believe. Nope, they took him off Power Play 2 today. So I would change him actually in terms of my colors, which green is core, blue is GPP only, and then purple is cash games. Just because he's not on the Power Play, I'm probably going to keep him to cash games. But he's in a great opportunity skating on line one with McDavid and Draisaitl. So, I mean, that's just a great spot for him to be in. Burakovsky making a lot of sense here as well. He's on the second line, but playing up on the top power play with McKinnon. Nice and cheap if you don't want to go, if you wanted to pair McKinnon with someone who correlates with him outside of Rantanen and Landeskog, who are a little more expensive. This is going to allow you to go probably McDavid and Draisaitl with McKinnon, Burakovsky, and then just fill in those cheap guys. Over on Anaheim, Raquel's really the only one I'm looking at from a cash game standpoint at wing. Over on center, I don't mind Henrique if you're maybe don't want to get McKinnon against LA and you want to go McDavid Draisaitl, but you don't want to punt too much. You can definitely go with Adam Henrique here. He's very cheap on both sides, especially on FanDuel, only 4,100. He's skating third line, but top power play. With Anaheim, I do like Anaheim spot versus San Jose. I mentioned that earlier. But for the wingers, Comtois, as well as who was the other winger I was looking at from Anaheim. We're just going to scroll down here. Max Jones up there on the second power play third line as well. Correlates a little bit with Henrique. So if you're going GPP, that's going to be very low in combination there. I'm just going to go bring up quick. And the value plays, Jones is going to be GPP only. Talked about him as a cheap pivot. Nichushkin here, line 3, power play 2. He has been very good lately, getting some value, some added opportunity. The ice time is up as well a little bit for him. And he's just super cheap on both sides. 2,900 on DK, 3,600 on FanDuel makes a lot of sense. His average for the season, for instance, is 5.7 DK points per game. He's been 8.3 over the last 10 games. 5 points in those 10 games with 25 shots. Which is pretty good for a $2,900 player. He actually has 4, 3, 3, and 7 in his last 4 games shots, points in 3 of those 4 games as well. So I definitely like that in all formats. Chase on as well for Edmonton, who I talked about, moved up from the 4th line to the 3rd line. He's also skating top power play. There's really not much in terms of shot volume there for him, but he's 2,600 on DraftKings. That's where I like him the best. I'll go other directions on FanDuel at 4,100, but 2,600 on DraftKings puts him in play here as well. I think you can even count on him as just as a punt play for cash games and or GPP if you want to go the full GPP like I was talking about earlier with Edmonton. Way down at the bottom here, also on Anaheim, Vinny Lettieri has been recalled, or I guess he's making his debut for Anaheim here tonight, and he was skating at the morning skate on top line, top power play. Do I think he's going to get a point? I wouldn't be banking on it. I wouldn't bet money on it. But the fact that he's minimum price on both sides, skating top line, top power play, facing San Jose, who is terrible defensively, I can see Anaheim, even though they're not a high scoring team, I can see them getting 2-3 goals. If he gets in on it, even with 2 or 3 shots, I think he easily gets there for value and allows you again to pay up for 2, 3, even 4 stud players tonight. Ellis Playground, thanks for joining. Greenway on DraftKings for Minnesota, and San Jose 2 for good GPP. Yeah, I definitely like that to help you get to Edmonton's big 2. You can even call them a big 3 if you want to get Nuge in there. Thanks for joining the show. Again, I appreciate it. Appreciate the feedback. Appreciate you coming in the chat, liking the video. Appreciate you all. This is, like I said, going to be a new show, so don't have a whole lot of viewers here today, but this is something I'm going to be doing. I want to do on Friday nights, talking some hockey. I might do it even more if start getting some good response after 4 or 5 shows. Might start doing a Tuesday show as well. We'll see how things go. I've got a NASCAR show to record here as well. I'm going to do a preview show. We've got a live show on Sunday for that. Dane and I over at RotoPros. Monday night we record our golf show for the week. So make sure to go and check that out. Upload time way faster than it was before, now that I've got some new internet rolling here. So that's good to go. And then Wednesday nights we started a live show as well on, it was my YouTube channel. I was going to do YouTube, I was going to do Sportscaster. It's probably going to float back and forth between the two, but this week it was on Sportscaster. So go check me out over there. It's Sportscaster without the E on the end.com/Jagerbombs. I'll be doing a Wednesday PGA show there and some more live shows as well now that I've got some upgraded internet and coming to you almost daily here with videos and stuff. So appreciate it. But yeah, I'm with you on Greenway. Finally, I just wanted to jump over to defense. Mentioned Lettieri. Again, I'm not expecting a whole bunch. He could easily put up a 0 and only skate 8 to 10 minutes. But the fact that he skated top line, top power play at minimum price on both sides, I'll take a chance that he's going to get 2 to 3 shots. If he gets a point, that is bonus at these prices. Over on defense, Nurse and Barry, obviously for Edmonton, especially on FanDuel in the mid 5K price. I just don't like pricing those guys anywhere above the mid 5K. It doesn't make any sense. So it makes sense to pay up for the Edmonton defenseman in cash games tonight. Gerard with Makar out. I definitely like Taves here as well. Taves a little bit cheaper on FanDuel, so I would go that route if you want to get some Colorado defense in there. Both are good in both or in all formats. Taves averages 4 combined shots blocks. Gerard's a little bit lower here, but he's been getting. That is one spot in terms of Gerard just recently, because at first I was like, 2.5 shots blocks per game. I don't really like that. But he's got 9 points over his last 10, and he has got 3 or more combined shots blocks in 3 straight and 4 of his last 5 games here, getting some added opportunity with Cal Makar out. Adam Larson for Edmonton, another Edmonton play here. Cash game only for me, especially FanDuel. He's going to be a punt. I don't mind going him at all. 3,500 over there, and it's the shot volume that stands out to me for him. Again, Edmonton's in a great spot, so he could get a point in there, but again, he's only got 1 point over his last 10 games, 5 on the season, so I'm not expecting any points from him whatsoever. Not really looking at shot volume. He's only got 25 shots on the year. That's less than 1 per game. Where he gives us value at his $4,300, or not 43, over on FanDuel, $3,500 price tag is the blocks. He's got 30 in his last 10 games. He's averaging 3 per game. He backs that up with 9.5 per 60 minutes up here, which leads all defensemen on this slate here. So good floor for cash games if you're looking for a punt on FanDuel. Same thing with Jacob McDonald. He's getting a little bit more ice time. Actually, not as Larson, but I just want to go look at his recent games. He's cheaper if you're looking for someone on DK, someone to throw in there. He's been getting a little bit more ice time. 16, 17, 18, 20 minutes over his last 4 games, up from his average of around 15, 16 per game over his 12-game sample size this season. He's only got 1 point, so again, not a guy really looking for a lot of offense from, but he has 7, 3, 4, 2, and 4 combined shots blocks in his last 5 games, so that's a nice floor. both sites, 3,000 on DK, 3,500 on FanDuel. Definitely liking those values there as well. All right, for anyone that is a member, make sure to go check out Ryan's top targets. He ranks his top 5 plays at each position with his top 3 stacks, as well as his top 3 goalies on there as well. He posts skeletons in the RotoPros chat. I've got skeletons over on my Patreon chat, and then I will have the DFSR optimizer. Let's just head over there one more second. Yeah, just have, oh, there we go. It actually loaded, so we'll go have a look at that. Here, I will have this ready to go with lines and goalies audited in about 30 to 40 minutes if you're checking that out. And I will be in the DFSR chat leading up to lock. I'll be in the RotoPros as well as my Patreon chat leading up to lock, leading up to the last game of the night, really. If there's any changes or news, which we've had a lot of this season, feels like NBA with the NHL season here. But yeah, I'll be in the chat helping you guys out. Even hit me up on Twitter at Jager_bombs9. Like and subscribe, hit that bell, the notifications, and you will get notified when my videos, when all my live videos come out. Usually not time sensitive stuff, but at least you'll know that it comes out and you'll be able to go click on it. And if you're just catching it here at the end, just jumping in late, jumping in the middle, there is always, you can go check the replay out and go from start to finish as well. Thanks a lot, everyone. Let's go get some green screens. I'm just going to double check, make sure there's no more questions in chat. And thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great night.